Good morning all. This is the third part of module 2, measurement of blood flow. Blood flow is one of the most important physiological parameters and also one of the most difficult to measure accurately. This is because instruments for measuring the flow through blood vessels within the body have to meet certain stringent specifications like sensitivity, stability requirements, etc., depending upon the magnitude of flow, location, and diameter of the individual vessels. The average velocities of blood flow vary over a wide range in vessels with diameters ranging from 2 centimeters to a few millimeters. There are many widely used techniques for measuring blood flow and velocity. They are categorized into invasive and non-invasive methods. I'll be discussing the two non-invasive techniques here: electromagnetic blood flow meters and ultrasonic blood flow meters. First is electromagnetic blood flow meter. The most commonly used instrument for measurement of blood flow is the electromagnetic blood flow meter. With this type of instrument, blood flow can be measured in intact blood vessels without cannulation and under conditions which would otherwise be impossible. But this method requires that the blood vessels be exposed so that the flow head or the measuring probe can be put across it. The operating principle underlying all the electromagnetic type of flow meters is based upon Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, which states that when a conductor is moved at right angles through a magnetic field in a direction at right angles both to the magnetic field and its length, an EMF is induced in the conductor. In the flow meter, an electromagnetic assembly provides the magnetic field placed at right angles to the blood vessel in which the flow is to be measured. The bloodstream, which is a conductor, cuts the magnetic field and voltage is induced in the bloodstream. This induced voltage is picked up by two electrodes incorporated in the magnetic assembly. The magnitude of the voltage picked up is directly proportional to the strength of the magnetic field, the diameter of the blood vessel, and the velocity of blood flow. That is, E is equal to CHV into D, where E is the induced voltage, H is the strength of the magnetic field, V is the velocity of blood flow, D is the diameter of the blood vessel, and C the constant of proportionality. So therefore, E is equal to C1 into V, where C1 is a constant given by C into H into D. Further, the flow rate Q through a tube is given by Q is equal to V into A. Therefore, V is equal to Q by A, where A is the area of cross-section of the tube. Hence, E is equal to C1 into Q by A, which is equal to C2 into Q, where C2 is equal to C1 divided by A. This equation shows that the induced voltage is directly proportional to the flow rate through the blood vessel. The induced voltage picked up by the electrodes is amplified and displayed or recorded on a suitable system. The diameter of the blood vessel is held constant by the circumference of the hole in the probe that surrounds it. In actual practice, the electromagnetic flow meter transducer is a tube of non-magnetic material to ensure that the magnetic flux does not bypass the flowing liquid and go into the walls of the tube. The tube is made of a conducting material and generally has an insulating lining to prevent short circuiting of the induced EMF. The induced EMF is picked up by point electrodes made from stainless steel or platinum. The flow head contains a slot through which the intact blood vessel can be inserted to make a snug fit. Several probes of different sizes must therefore accompany the flow meter to match the full range of sizes of the blood vessels, which have various diameters. The early models of electromagnetic flow meters employed permanent magnets, which were subsequently replaced by the electromagnets powered at main frequencies, whose magnetic coils work on sine, square or trapezium current waveforms. So depending upon the shape of the energizing current waveform for the electromagnet, there are two types of electromagnetic flow meters. They are the sine wave flow meter and square wave flow meter. First is a sine wave flow meter. In a sine wave flow meter, the probe magnet is energized with a sine wave, and consequently the induced voltage will also be sinusoidal in nature. The major problem encountered with the sinusoidal type of magnetic field is that the blood vessel and the fluid contained in it act as a secondary coil of the transformer when the probe magnet is excited. As a result, in addition to the induced flow voltage, there is an induced artifact voltage, generally referred to as transformer voltage. The transformer voltage is much larger than the signal or flow induced voltage and is 90 degrees out of phase with it. This also causes baseline drift, which necessitates high phase stability in the amplifier and the demodulator circuits. In earlier versions of sine wave flow meters, this unwanted voltage was eliminated by injecting into the signal a voltage of equal strength but having an opposite phase. The artifact signal is thus cancelled and only the flow induced voltage is left behind for display. An alternative method to eliminate the transformer induced voltage in sine wave flow meters is by using a gated amplifier. The function of this amplifier is to permit the amplification of the signals only during the portion of the cycle where flow induced voltages are maximum and the transformer induced voltages are minimum. By this method, the artifact voltage is prevented from getting amplified. This instrument is known as gated sine wave flow meter. The sine wave flow meters require complicated electronic circuitry for the removal of transformer induced voltage from the flow induced voltage. As both the waveforms are of the same type, complete elimination of the artifact voltage becomes extremely difficult. The sine wave system no doubt yields good signal to noise ratio but imposes stringent phase stability requirements with increasing frequency. In square wave flow meter, the energizing voltage given to the magnet is a square wave and therefore the induced voltage is also a square wave. The square wave flow meter has less stringent requirements of phase stability than the sine wave type, as it can suppress the quadrature voltages relatively easily. Also, it is easier to control the magnitude and wave shape of the energizing current in the case of a square wave system. The transformer induced voltage in this case is only a spike superimposed on the beginning of the square wave flow induced voltage. Separation of these two voltages becomes easier as the amplifier can be gated only for a very short period. The square wave is amplitude modulated by the variation in blood flow and requires to be demodulated before it can be fed to a recorder. The figure shows a block diagram of a square wave electromagnetic blood flow meter. The float transducer consists of an electromagnet which provides a magnetic field perpendicular to the direction of flow, and lying within the field are a pair of pickup electrodes whose axes are perpendicular to both the field and the flow axis. The electrodes may be in contact with either the flowing blood or the outer surface of the blood vessel carrying the flowing blood. The former is called cannulating flow meter and the latter cuff flow meter. The induced voltage picked up by the electrodes is given to a low noise differential amplifier through a capacitive coupling. The preamplifier must have a very high common mode rejection ratio and input impedance. A gating amplifier helps to remove spurious voltages generated during the magnetic current reversal. Following the gating amplifier is an active RC bandpass amplifier, which selectively passes through it the amplified square wave signal. The peak response is kept for 400 Hz. The 3 dB points are at 300 and 500 Hz. The gain of this amplifier is typically 50. A phase-sensitive detector is used to recover the signal, which is an analog of the flow rate being measured. The demodulated signal is given to an active RC low-pass filter, which provides a uniform frequency response and a linear phase shift from 0 to 30 Hz. This is followed by an integrator circuit to provide an output corresponding to the mean flow. The output signal thus obtained can be put to a recorder to read the blood flow rate from the calibrated scale. There are basically two types of ultrasonic blood flow velocity meter, which is the second type of the blood flow meter. The first type is a transit time velocity meter and the second is the Doppler shift. For routine clinical measurements, the Doppler instrument has been used. Transit time ultrasonic blood flow meters measure the difference in time when an ultrasonic signal is transmitted from the first transducer until it crosses the vessels and is received by the second transducer. A comparison is made of upstream and downstream measurements. The transit time is shortened when the blood flows in the same direction as the transmitted energy and lengthened otherwise. This is a non-invasive technique to measure blood flow velocity in a particular vessel from the surface of the body. It is based on the analysis of echo signals from the erythrocytes in the vascular structures. Because of the Doppler effect, the frequency of these echo signals changes relative to the frequency which the probe transmits. The Doppler frequency shift is a measure of the size and direction of the flow velocity. The principle of Doppler shift flow velocity meters is illustrated in the figure shown. The incident ultrasound is scattered by the blood vessels and the scattered wave is received by the second transducer. The frequency shift due to the moving scatterers is proportional to the velocity of the scatterers. Alteration into frequency occurs first as the ultrasound arrives at the scatterer and second as it leaves the scatterer. If the blood is moving towards the transmitter, the apparent frequency F1 is given by F into C minus V cos theta divided by C, where F is the transmitted frequency, C is the velocity of sound in blood, theta is the angle of inclination of the incident wave to the direction of blood flow, and V is the velocity of blood cells. Assuming that the incident and scattered radiations are both inclined at angle theta to the direction of flow, then F2 is given by F1 into C divided by C plus V cos theta. The resultant Doppler shift is given by delta F, which is equal to F minus F2, which is equal to F minus F1 into C by C plus V cos theta by substituting V2. Substituting F1, we get F minus F into C minus V cos theta divided by C into C divided by C plus V cos theta. If we take the F outside, we will get F into 1 minus C minus V cos theta divided by C plus V cos theta. Since C is very much greater than V, delta F is given by 2F V cos theta by C, from where we will get V as delta F into C divided by 2F cos theta. This relationship forms the basis of measuring the blood velocity. Block diagram of the Doppler shift blood flow meter is shown in the figure. The piezoelectric crystal A is electrically excited to generate ultrasonic waves which enter the blood. Ultrasound scattered from the moving blood cells excites the receiver signal. The electrical signal received at B consists of a large amplitude excitation frequency component which is directly coupled from the transmitter to the receiver plus a very small amplitude Doppler shifted component scattered from the blood vessel. The detector produces a sum of the difference of the frequencies at T. The low pass filter selects the difference frequency resulting in audio frequencies at E. Each time the audio wave crosses the zero axis, a pulse appears at G. The filtered output level at H will be proportional to the blood velocity. Thank you.